In just 84 seconds, $47 million in hidden Epstein payments would destroy two political careers simultaneously. Jasmine Crockett didn't flinch when both Bondi and Patel tried to deflect her questions. She didn't need to. She reached into her briefcase like a prosecutor who'd been building this case for months. Cameras zoomed in. The Senate confirmation hearing fell into absolute silence. Even the seasoned political reporters looked shocked. What did Crockett reveal that made two of Trump's most loyal allies go completely pale on live television? At exactly 2:34 p.m. on January 16, 2025, the Senate Judiciary Committee chamber buzzed with confirmation hearing tension. Mahogany panels, harsh fluorescent lighting, and 36 cameras capturing every micro-expression as senators questioned Trump's controversial cabinet nominees. The air crackled with partisan electricity and barely contained animosity. Jasmine Crockett walked into the chamber like a trial attorney who'd already read the jury's verdict. Charcoal blazer, pressed to perfection, legal folders arranged by devastating importance, microphone positioned with surgical precision, her heels clicked against marble floors with the rhythm of inevitability. She carried herself like someone who possessed information that could change everything. Bondi sat at the witness table like a former prosecutor carved from Florida confidence. Attorney General nominee, Trump loyalist, media-trained politician, ready for combat. Her blonde hair perfectly styled, flag pin gleaming, she shuffled through prepared talking points with the assurance of someone who'd survived political storms before. Her practiced smile suggested she was ready for another day of partisan theater. Beside her sat Patel, FBI Director nominee, intelligence operative turned political warrior, dark suit, immaculate, posture rigid with military precision. He radiated the controlled intensity of a man accustomed to classified briefings and covert operations. His expression remained carefully neutral, but his eyes darted occasionally to the sealed envelope on Crockett's desk. 3 mysteries hung in the committee room, air like smoke. What was in that envelope? Why had both nominees requested private meetings with Republican committee members the night before? And who had leaked the cryptic financial documents that morning's Washington Post had only hinted at? The hearing began routinely enough. Chairman Lindsey Graham called the session to order, discussing the importance of confirming qualified nominees quickly. Bondi launched into a prepared opening statement about restoring integrity to the Justice Department, while Patel spoke of modernizing the FBI for 21st century threats. Then came the softball questions from Republican senators. Bondi smiled through questions about prosecutorial experience. Patel navigated queries about intelligence reform with practiced ease. Everything proceeded exactly as their confirmation teams had scripted, until Crockett's turn arrived. "Miss Bondi, Mr. Patel, thank you for your service," she began, her voice steady and measured. "I'd like to discuss your commitment to transparency and accountability." Both nominees nodded confidently. They'd prepared for transparency questions. "Excellent. Then you can explain your financial relationship with Jeffrey Epstein's network." The temperature in the room seemed to drop 10 degrees instantly. Bondi's smile flickered like a candle in wind. "I'm sorry, Congresswoman, but I have no idea what you're referring to." Patel's military posture stiffened imperceptibly. "Senator, I've never had any relationship with Jeffrey Epstein." Crockett opened her folder. Not the colored tabs, but a thick manila envelope marked confidential, Senate eyes only. "That's interesting, because I have banking records that tell a different story." She pulled out the first document. Not a photocopy, not a leak. An official Federal Reserve wire transfer report bearing multiple authentication seals. Federal Reserve Transaction Report, FR 2025, AT47. Dated March 15, 2019. Wire transfer of $23 million from Epstein Foundation Holdings to Southern Justice Alliance. A 5. Bondi's confident smile began to crack. "I've never heard of Southern Justice Alliance." "You should have. You're listed as the primary beneficiary and sole board member." The room erupted in controlled chaos. Republican senators shifted uncomfortably. Democratic members leaned forward like sharks. Sensing blood, camera operators zoomed in on both nominees' faces, capturing every micro-expression of growing panic. But Crockett wasn't finished. She reached for another document. Mr. Patel, Federal Reserve Transaction Report, FR 2025-89-1. April 22, 2019. Wire transfer of $24 million from the same Epstein Foundation holdings to Patriot's Intelligence Fund. Patel's controlled demeanor cracked slightly. Senator, I have no knowledge of any Patriot's Intelligence Fund. You should. You incorporated it in Delaware 3 weeks before this transfer. Would you like me to read your signature from the incorporation papers? She held up another document. Even from 20 feet away, Patel's distinctive signature was unmistakable. For 5 seconds, an eternity in political time, both nominees sat in stunned silence. The cameras captured everything. Bondi's hands beginning to tremble slightly. Patel's jaw clenching and unclenching, the way both avoided eye contact with each other. Chairman Graham attempted damage control. Senator Crockett, these are serious allegations that require— Oh, it gets much worse, Crockett interrupted, her voice cutting through the chamber like a blade. These transfers were made 6 months after Jeffrey Epstein's arrest, while he was in federal custody, facing federal charges. She pulled out a third document, FBI Investigative Report 2019 SDNY 707043. Details surveillance of Epstein's financial network during his incarceration. Both Southern Justice Alliance and Patriot's Intelligence Fund appear on the watch list of organizations receiving suspicious transfers. The political theater had become a criminal investigation in real time. Bondi finally found her voice, but it shook slightly. This is clearly a setup, a political hit job designed— Ms. Bondi, are you claiming the Federal Reserve fabricated these wire transfer records? I'm claiming this is taken out of context. Then provide the context. What services did you provide Jeffrey Epstein's network worth $23 million? Silence. Devastating, career-ending silence. Patel attempted a different strategy. Senator, if such transfers occurred, they were without my knowledge or authorization. Crockett smiled for the first time. Not a friendly smile. A prosecutor's smile. Mr. Patel, Patriot's Intelligence Fund was used to purchase a $4.2 million estate in McLean, Virginia. The deed is in your name. The mortgage payments came from the fund. You've been living there for 3 years. The hearing room fell into absolute silence. Even the stenographer stopped typing, but the devastating evidence cascade was just beginning. From her envelope, Crockett produced a tablet computer. I'd like to play audio for the committee. This is a recorded conversation between Jeffrey Epstein and an unknown male voice, obtained through a Freedom of Information Act request to the U.S. Bureau of Prisons. She pressed play. The audio quality was crystal clear. Epstein, the Florida situation is handled. Bondi will make sure no state charges stick. Unintn voice. And the intelligence files? Epstein. Patel has them secured. No FBI access to the island records. Unintn voice. The transfers, Epstein, already processed, 47 million total. They're bought and paid for. The recording stopped. The silence that followed was deafening. Bondi's face had gone completely white. That's not— This is fabricated evidence. Patel sat frozen, staring at the tablet like it was a loaded weapon. Crockett leaned into her microphone. The FBI's audio analysis department has authenticated this recording. Voice recognition confirms one participant as Jeffrey Epstein. Would you like to provide a voice sample to identify the second participant? Mr. Patel, for the first time in his intelligence career, Kash Patel looked terrified. The committee room erupted. Republicans demanded points of order. Democrats called for immediate withdrawal of both nominations. Reporters frantically typed breaking news alerts. Camera crews scrambled for better angles. Through the chaos, Crockett's voice remained steady as a metronome. The American people deserve to know why their potential Attorney General and FBI Director received a combined $47 million from Jeffrey Epstein's network. They deserve to know what services were provided in exchange. They deserve to know if justice was obstructed. 84 seconds. That's how long it took from her first question to their complete destruction. Within minutes, Epstein payments was trending on Twitter. The audio clip went viral across all platforms. Cable news networks interrupted regular programming for wall-to-wall coverage. CNN's Anderson Cooper led with "Explosive revelations rock Senate confirmation hearings as Epstein financial documents surface." MSNBC's Rachel Maddow tweeted, "Following developing story about $47 million in payments from Epstein network to Trump nominees. This changes everything." Even Fox News struggled to defend the nominees. Tucker Carlson's team went silent on social media. Sean Hannity's show was reportedly in crisis mode, unsure how to spin audio evidence of their frequent guests taking Epstein money. By evening, the political earthquake had shattered Washington's foundation. The FBI announced an immediate investigation into the revealed payments. The Department of Justice confirmed they were reviewing all available evidence regarding potential obstruction of justice. The Senate Ethics Committee called emergency sessions for both nominees. President Trump's response came at 9 p.m. through Truth Social. Fake news witch hunt against two patriots. Deep state attacks continue. But privately, sources reported the White House was in full panic mode. Senior advisors were reportedly furious that vetting had missed such explosive financial ties. Several urged Trump to withdraw both nominations immediately. Bondi's political career ended at 11:47 p.m. when she released a one-paragraph statement withdrawing from consideration as Attorney General, citing family considerations and the need to address false allegations. She provided no explanation for the banking records, the audio recording, or the $23 million transfer. Patel held out until 2:33 a.m. when his own statement arrived, slightly longer, but equally evasive, claiming the evidence was fabricated by intelligence agencies opposed to reform. He provided no alternative explanation for living in a house purchased with Epstein money. Jasmine Crockett appeared on late-night television, looking exactly as composed as she had during the hearing. "This isn't about politics," she told Stephen Colbert. "It's about integrity. When someone wants to lead our justice system or our premier law enforcement agency, the American people deserve to know they can't be bought." How did you obtain this evidence? Through proper oversight channels. Congress has a constitutional duty to advise and consent on nominations. That requires asking hard questions and demanding honest answers. The interview clip garnered 15 million views within 24 hours. 3 months later, federal prosecutors in New York announced criminal charges against both former nominees. Bondi faced charges of money laundering and conspiracy to obstruct justice. Patel was indicted for accepting bribes and violating federal disclosure laws. Both cases were built primarily on the evidence Crockett had presented during that January afternoon hearing. Crockett herself became a Democratic superstar overnight. Progressive organizations hailed her as the future of congressional oversight. Her approval ratings soared nationally. Speaking invitations poured in from universities, legal organizations, and civil rights groups. But perhaps the most significant response came from within the intelligence community itself. Current and former agents privately expressed gratitude that someone had finally exposed the corruption they'd been forced to ignore. One retired FBI supervisor, speaking anonymously to the Washington Post, said, "We knew something was wrong when cases involving Epstein's network kept getting buried. Now we know why. Crockett did what we couldn't do from inside." 6 months later, sitting in her Capitol Hill office, Crockett reflected on that January afternoon during an interview with The Atlantic. "People ask if I planned to destroy 2 careers that day," she said quietly. "The truth is, they destroyed their own careers the moment they took Jeffrey Epstein's money. I just made sure the American people found out about it." She paused, looking out at the Washington skyline. Justice doesn't always wear a robe or carry a gavel. Sometimes it walks into a Senate hearing room with evidence and asks simple questions. Who paid you, and what did they buy? Justice doesn't always announce itself with fanfare. Sometimes it arrives quietly, carrying manila envelopes filled with inconvenient truths. What happens when corruption meets transparency? What happens when bought politicians face unbought representatives? What happens when someone finally asks the questions everyone was afraid to ask? The answer was written in 84 seconds that changed everything. If this story inspired you, don't just scroll, like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Here, truth doesn't knock. It enters with evidence. What's the most shocking political moment you've ever witnessed? Drop it below. Disclaimer: this dramatized story is inspired by real events and public figures. All dialogue and incidents are fictionalized for commentary and educational purposes. No defamation intended, only illumination of power, truth, and accountability.